Life is just a perception. Our reality is just a perception. And everybody you see in front of you is just a projection of yourself. So treat everyone like you would yourself.
All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a life podcast, a story podcast. It's a show aimed to inspire by shedding some light on the sides of people's stories that we don't usually get to hear, showing us that, well, maybe we all experience similar things in this wacky simulation we call life. This is a show where I take a deep dive into the story of my guests to figure out what makes them them. And who am I? Well, I am your host. My name is Ross Theisen. I am a video director, a writer, dare I say a content creator. I don't know. I'm a Columbus, Ohio native. I don't know. I live here now, but I haven't lived here forever. Either way, I am your host, but that's not what's important today. What is important is my guest, and his name is Adam Little. Adam is a comedian, a writer, a true content creator, a social media personality, maybe. I don't know if that's a good way to put it. Either way, you can find him sharing tons and tons of genuinely hilarious skits via his current Instagram platform, @ALilShow. But outside of the comedy, he's just a genuine, rad, down-to-earth human being who I am seriously very glad I've gotten to connect with. In this episode, we chat about how he started making comedy content, what drew him to entertain, building the large following he's got, but more importantly, what he wants to see that turn into. We even talk about whether or not life is actually real. We talk about other dimensions, lots of fun stuff, honestly, that I don't often get to dive into on this show, but it's here in this episode. So let's not put it off any longer. Let's just get into it. Let's jump in. Here it is, episode 25 of What You Don't Hear with Adam Little. Just don't feel like you have to cut yourself short when you talk.
Okay.
Because I know some people are like, I love to ramble. Great.
Yeah.
This is the time to ramble.
Yeah, dude, if you cut me off, I'm whooping ass. I'm just joking. No, I'm kidding.
I think that's a super good starting point, honestly. Okay, so I am sitting here with Adam Little. Adam, welcome to What You Don't Hear.
Well, I mean, thanks for having me, man. That's awesome.
So this is one of those cases in an episode where this is literally the very first time you and I are meeting.
Yeah.
We have chatted online a little bit.
Yeah, we chatted on the phone a couple times.
And talking about like possible projects and some fun stuff we can do together. But even that has just happened within the last like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is such a clean plate of getting to know one another. And so I feel like I have so many questions. Obviously, I want to know about your story. But I feel like right off the top, I want like, when did you start? I guess even before I ask that, how would you describe yourself? Give the elevator pitch. Anybody who's listening right now who might not know who you are, what do you do?
How would I describe myself? I guess I'd describe myself as just another human being on this planet trying to figure out what the heck he's doing here. Number two is I like to have fun, so I think that's how I describe myself. And yeah, man, I just like to do videos and make my friends laugh. I like to have my friends make fun of me and capture it on video. And I don't know, I like to have a good time because we don't know what we're doing here, like I said. So
that's like the cool thing is that we were introduced via friend of the pod and often recurring guest here, Josh Emmerich. But I had been aware of you before that. And I think I followed you for a little while.
Okay.
And I remember coming across you and like, honestly, I'm going to give you some praise here.
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's cool. It's cool.
I literally was like, dude, like, who is this guy from Columbus and has a group of people that he's actively creating content with, and it is genuinely funny content.
Appreciate
and so that was building to like the main question that I wanted to dive in with first is like, you do such, and I think I've told you this before, but you do such a good job with just staying on top of creating all the content and the skits and just putting all that stuff out. like when did that start? When did you like officially start like actually like giving like the whole like, because I guess, would you say, like, if we were to give it a label, like, would you say like, oh dude, well, like, yeah, I'm a comedian who does things through the form of social media right now, and I have bigger plans to do this? Or is it like, yeah dude, I'm a content creator and I just happen to be like really funny? Like,
Yeah, well, I don't, dude, to be honest with you, I really don't think I'm that funny. It's just I think I understand comedy, and I think I know how to like grasp an idea and like really just put it on camera, you know? Like my favorite thing to do is direct and be behind the camera and watch people make me laugh, even though I understand acting and like what certain cuts to edit and like what is going to be, you know, intriguing to people when they watch. And, you know, just I'm going to pause for a second and just say, dude, ever since I saw your work, I've been impressed. That's why I was so excited to come here. So
thank you.
yeah, man. So yeah, I guess, man, you asked like two different questions there. I can't remember. What exactly did you say? You said
Like,
how would I describe myself? Like a content
we were talking,
creator?
yeah, we were talking like the sort of like the label thing, which
Yeah,
again,
okay.
it's just kind of like I just kind of like to make stuff,
Right.
sort of thing. But the larger question is, when did you start this like hardcore kick of content creation?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess last year around, I want to say May of last year. I had
So
like
it's fresh.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's like a
Okay.
year and a half old now. I literally called all my friends who I think are funny and like who have good ideas and make me laugh all the time. Called them over to my house and I was like, hey guys, I have an idea for a TV show. You know, have you ever seen Rick and Morty, Interdimensional Cable?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I was like, hey guys, I want this show to be set up just like how Interdimensional Cable is. Like, you know, there's somebody on the couch flipping through these channels and they're all our skits. But it didn't really work out like that because I didn't realize how much production goes into that kind of stuff. So instead, me and Benny, we had a conversation. We were just like, you know, let's just put out skits now instead of doing that because we don't have a following. We don't have anybody watching us. You know, might as well just start putting out skits. And so, yeah, we started putting them out. And, you know, I've always had a dream of having like a TV show or a platform or something. But it took me like 6 years to even get to that point to even do it. I've always had these ideas, and my best friend, me and Josh, we always talked about, you know, getting a production company, getting cameras, all this stuff. And it took me like 6 years to like really pull the trigger and just go all in on it. And once we made that first skit, it's like we couldn't stop. It was like crack, you know, we just couldn't stop doing it. So.
Man, okay. So I was excited to like dive in and get to know you, but now there's so many similarities and things that I feel like I'm relating to.
Yeah,
now
man.
I'm like, mind is racing with so many things.
Yeah.
So, not to take a deep dive right at the beginning, but you said something I feel like is very important there, and this is something that I honestly battle with a lot, and a lot of other creative people I know also battle with. You mentioned, you were like, oh, well, I have this idea for a show, right? And it's this, and it's somebody flipping through channels, and it's this. And then you decided, well, why don't we just start making the skits? Why do we like have to wait for the big picture thing? Why don't we just start doing what we can now? How important do you feel like that is? Because I feel like it's such an easy thing to get caught up on.
Yeah, because once you hold off on an idea, you're kind of like not even going after the idea. It's you have a big picture in your head of how you think things should be, and then, you know, you get lazy. You don't get it. You're not as motivated because you don't have the money or the team or the equipment. So I mean, we just started with 1 or 2 cameras, and you know, I don't know. It just took off from there, and once you get going, man, that's when things start to really pick up. It's like a little snowball. You know, you roll it in the snow and it gets bigger. So that's how it started.
So where does that all begin? And I know that you just said you don't think you're that funny.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that you are very, very funny.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And I think you're a great writer. I think you produce anything that you've made. I don't think it matters like the quality, or because we've had some of those conversations before where you're like, oh man, I'd love to step up the quality. I think the quality is in the content, not how
Appreciate
it's
it.
made. So I preface all that but to ask you this. When did, like, just to, I guess, kind of generalize it a little bit, like obviously you said like you're interested in directing and writing, all that sort of stuff. When did comedy kind of take the helm? When was it like, all right, comedic skits is like where I'm leaning?
I say this in every time I talk to somebody, but Dave Chappelle is my biggest influence ever. And just seeing his skits when I was younger, I literally pee my pants to every single episode. I'm not even joking. So Dave Chappelle, if you're listening, you owe me some underwear. But yeah, man. And also my brother, when I was a little kid, nobody made me laugh like my older brother. I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and there's a huge gap between, you know, us two. And I was I was born and one of my brothers was 14. So yeah, just seeing how funny he was, and like I would just like really observe him when he would interact with people. And we would watch a lot of movies together, and he would really break down movies to me and tell me why this is funny and why that's funny. And I would just watch him, and he would just make me laugh all the time. So it was a combination of that, Dave Chappelle, and Mad TV, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's really where it comes from.
So, where are you from? Are you naturally is it
Yep.
Columbus?
From
Born and
Columbus,
raised.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so take me back. What is little Adam like? Actually, that's a dumb way to put that. Because
No,
I'm
it's
just
okay.
reversing your.
No, it's okay.
You get what I'm saying. So what's childhood like? What's family life like? What is growing up like for you?
Man, I actually don't talk about my childhood that much. So I was kind of an only child, if you think about it, because I had I had four brothers. I'm my dad's only child, but they all had the same dad. So when I was growing up, I was in the house with my mom all the time. Like, she raised me by herself pretty much, and my brothers were always around to, hang out with me and stuff. And I played sports my whole life, and yeah, I don't know. I just think I don't think I was a bad kid. I just think, I didn't. My mom was kind of a dictator, so I like kind of went against her wishes sometimes, but I wasn't bad by any means. I just like to have fun with my friends. When I was in high school, man, I didn't even live at my house. I lived at my friends' houses, and I just remember one of my friend's moms being like, "Yo, dude, you gotta stop eating our food because I can't afford to feed my kids." And I'm just like, "Well, my mom doesn't feed me," and like I kind of played the guilt game on her. So it was that was kind of funny moment. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know, man. My childhood was normal. My parents never really had money or anything, so just had everything I needed though, food and kinda. My mom always had
Right.
my mom always had more food for the cats than she did me. That's why I'm so skinny. So yeah, man. Childhood was cool. Yeah.
So when does I suppose, like, because you said you play sports and all that sort of stuff, so where to unlock it, there's not like a dude in this one part in my life, this huge childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing like that. When does like creativity start rearing its head, or is it just in the form of like comedy and like, hey, I like to be kind of silly and hang out with my friends? Like, what path? Like, the older you get, what's your? Is it just like, I'm just a kid who just hangs out and does stuff?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. So I didn't even mention that in high school, we had news broadcasting, and going to a school that didn't have that much money, the fact that I saw people doing the news on TV, and I knew other schools didn't have it and they had more money than us, that was really cool to me. So that made me get interested in video and stuff. So I joined junior year of news broadcast, and I was like, hey, can I do a skit? And the teacher's like, sure, yeah, you can do a skit, because nobody's really doing skits. They were doing the weather and like things about lunch, stuff like that. So I did a skit, and I think it was the first one I ever did was called The Freshman Hunt, where I acted like the crocodile hunter, and I went around and hunted freshmen and just like interviewed freshmen. But I made it kind of funny. If I were to see it now, I probably wouldn't laugh one time, but to kids in the school then, that was kind of funny. So that kind of like sparked everything for me, and that's where I learned how to edit and do all these videos. And a couple teachers came up to me and was like, hey, that was actually pretty funny, and you should look into going to college for that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I might do that. So that's kind of how it started.
So that was sort of like the transition moment of like, oh, yeah, I'm just being kind of a silly kid, but somebody is telling me like, hey, you're actually kind of funny, or hey, you kind of have a knack for this or an eye for this, or whatever it is. Like, I know, like, it's always interesting to hear that. Like, I guess, were you kind of always like out of your shell, or was that kind of like would you say it's a breakthrough moment, or just an affirming moment of like, oh, the way I am is cool?
Yeah, I kind of always was. I mean, when you're younger, sometimes it's easy to fall into the notion of, I want to be the cool kid, and I want to fit in, blah blah blah. Obviously, I try to fit in sometimes, but once I started doing the video stuff, I was like, man, I feel different. So I just started to be more risky with stuff. And like I said, watching Dave Chappelle at night and then going to school the next day, it just fueled it,
When I asked that, because like I know for me, I literally didn't, like, I was so in a shell for such a long time.
Yeah.
And I distinctly...
How long?
Like 6th grade.
Okay.
So I guess maybe, I don't know if that's, am I over exaggerating? Is that not long?
No,
Is that
I mean, dude, we're all kids. It depends.
When like, I remember like having this one specific breakthrough year where it was 6th grade. I had a teacher. His name's Mr. Boffman. Shout outs to Mr. Boffman.
Shout out Mr. Boffman.
He actually he keeps up with my stuff. It's
Hell
very
yeah.
cool. But anyway, the point of the story is that he ran his class in his classroom so relaxed. He was insanely funny. Like he would just ham it up for anything and everything. And I literally attribute, like, I almost, obviously when you grow up, you mature, you come out of your shell a little bit more, but like I remember being in his class being a huge turning point for me, because yeah, you'd be funny kind of quietly with your friends, maybe sometimes, but I was always that kid who was just like quiet, kept to myself, whatever. But being in his class and experiencing this kind of like fun, genuinely just fun environment, and seeing somebody do silly voices as they teach or whatever, literally I remember like the first time in his class that I started coming out of my shell, where I would do silly voices in front of the class as I answered a question, and it was like welcomed. And so again, that's why I asked that, because like I know for me, I literally had a turning point where like, okay, now I'm on this trajectory of I am coming out of my shell a little bit more. I am figuring out like, all right, I can be funny with people. I can, not be that quiet kid. So it's always interesting to hear like, especially something like you're doing now. Like I've never had somebody who makes comedic content on the show. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I know it seems like I'm probably like digging in so deep to this, but it is interesting to know, like, when did that hit for you? And because again, for me, it's just like, oh, okay, I had a really cool teacher who was funny, made me feel like it was fun to be funny. So boom, I break out of my shell. But now your, at least current, life is kind of engulfed in content creation, skit writing, and directing, and all within the form of comedy mainly.
I do want to say though, it might seem like I do a lot, but dude, I bartend and I work a lot. So like, I feel like you guys are on top of your shit way better than I am. And like, whenever I see you guys posting, I'm like, damn, they're doing it like all the time, every week. I post when I can, and like I just film when I can, and like when friends can help out, like I wish it could be a job, hopefully sooner or later, but I appreciate that. But dude, I promise you, dude, I do not work that much at the video stuff.
The cool thing is that it looks that way though.
Yeah,
it seems that way, and it's motivating, because literally like that's why I say it. And I'm like, dude, I see you posting all the time, and you've got all these skits, and I know obviously it's, the real days that you have, right? Just like I know the real days that we have of like, hey, even full disclosure with these podcasts, anybody listening or watching, you're going to find out a secret. So many of these podcasts I record within a couple week span. And then I release them after that. So I create a backlog. So then I know that conveniently, if something like a world pandemic happens and you can't really sit down with anybody for a while, I've got a backlog of content that I can now release.
That's true. That's very true. And how long have you been doing the podcast, by the way?
So at the moment of us recording this, I'm coming up on a year. Wow. So, I guess doing the podcast, technically I was already doing it this time last year, but I went public with it and launched it in January of 2020.
Okay. And what made you want to start? Is it somebody you watched, or?
Man, so what's the simplest way I can explain the story? So I've listened to podcasts for a super long time. Basically back when they like just kind of were starting up. Like I'm that guy, and I'm like, I was listening to them before, they were cool. Yeah. And so for a while I worked a factory job back in my hometown that I just hated, right?
Nobody likes that.
No, you know what I mean? Like super hard, just doing the same thing every day, sitting there, mundane, whatever. But I discovered podcasts. So for a while, like what it did for me was kind of take me into another world a little bit, right? Whether it was funny, whether it was serious conversations, whether, whatever it was, I started to gain this value from like, man, this is really fun just to listen to people talk. Yeah. And then from there, the big turning point that officially made me be like, I really want to do this is, and again, I'm trying to make this as short as possible. It was like 18 or something like that. Basically, I had been freelancing for a couple years. So officially like working for myself, so cool, right? But it was going terribly. And I was incredibly poor and never had any business, never had anything. So obviously in those moments, it always takes some sort of introspective look, right? You got to figure out, how do I solve this problem? But I wasn't really thinking like that, right? So basically, I come across a show called Short Story Long, which I don't know if you've ever heard of that podcast.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Do you know Drama from like Fantasy Factory, Robin Big? It's his podcast.
Okay.
I don't know if you listen to podcasts very much.
Sometimes when I'm driving, like on long trips,
100%. I'll give you some like specific episodes to check out. Yeah. So the reason I'm even so like, oh, dude, you got to listen, is because that podcast sort of, and I know it's cheesy to say, but sort of changed my life trajectory in a way. So I listened to podcasts for a while, but what his did is things like this. it's a deep dive conversation. It's unedited. It's just getting to know a guest and them telling their real story. It's not a quick Q&A of like, how did you become the CEO of this? How did you build a famous brand? How did you become a comedian? It's what makes you you.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of your life and how did you push through? So what that did for me as the listener was show me like, oh, I'm going through so many similar things that all of these people, whether I do something similar to them or not, and career path, I was hearing all these real authentic stories, and all of them are based around being motivational, being inspirational, right? You want to turn the episode off and be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to get my shit together.
Yeah, I need
like
to get off my ass.
Yeah. But it's done in a real authentic way. So I listen to those and literally I'm just like,
Yeah.
I kick it into gear and I'm just like, okay, like I'm hearing these things. This is refreshing my mind in a way. And then, so basically I'm like, I want to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Like I want to create my own platform and I just want people on to shed light. Again, the theme, the title is shed light on the sides of people's stories that nobody knows. Nobody gets to hear.
Well, you do a good job at it, man. I mean,
Thank
just
you.
based off of my first interactions with you, this is my favorite part about being in the creative scene is like noticing other people's talents. And if you are talented, like I'll hype you the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that if you're not talented, I won't hype you up, but I get excited when I meet people who are talented. So you have a good cadence when you talk. Like you're very, like your voice is very warm and like it's very, it's fun to listen to. So like, and I can tell you have good interviewing skills. So I think you have a future in this, man. Seriously, like I'm not saying that just to be so you like me, but just being
Dude.
honest. So
Thank you. I seriously appreciate that so much because again, like I want to start a podcast, so I'm like, I need to make sure that I can be good at it. Like I need to make sure that I can make somebody comfortable in an interview. I need to make sure that I can be interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
So that's freaking awesome to hear.
So drama's like your Dave Chappelle from
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
In this world, like in the podcasting world, like that was kind of like the motivating factor.
Nice.
Like I know what it did for me, and then due to that, did for even Josh and stuff like that. So now I'm like, okay, I want to start doing that. I guess I did a podcast with a friend of mine before this one, but that was like a horror comedy podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is a thing that I really, we can talk about this like off the show, but I want to talk to you about that because I feel like we can relate a lot in that aspect.
Yeah, I remember the first time we talked on the phone, we were talking about doing a horror/comedy thing. So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. The very first, that was kind of like the reason that we were connected. But that was only kind of fulfilling a part of me where I was like, all right, I'm getting my like comedy side and my skit writing side in this podcast. Now I want to tap into that like life story, like the motivational part, and again, find that way to do for anybody else what that podcast did for me. So back to you.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about me, dude. I'm here,
dude. I'm the guest.
I'm the center of attention, dude.
So like, you kind of have that turning point a little bit where you kind of get it affirmed. Like I'm pretty decent at this whole like being in front of the camera thing or doing the production in general,
the editing and stuff. Yeah.
So is that kind of like the path that you now take, and does like creating things on your own start there, or was it just like, hey, maybe I can have a career in this, time to go to school for it?
So after high school, after I did the whole news broadcast thing, me and three other friends, Marshawn McCarroll, Marquand McCarroll, and Zach Fleer, we all started like a little nonprofit group called POD, Pursuing Our Dreams. And what we would do is basically put our own money together and go out and feed homeless people, feed just regular people on the street too, do coat drives, back to school supply drive. We did that for this was a year after I went to college first. So I went to college for a year, played baseball, and I dropped out. And that's when I did this. That's when I did this nonprofit thing, and that really sparked a fuel in me to just see that this world is crazy and people are really just, that some people are not as good as well off as you are, and so why not? Even if you don't have a lot, why can't you give something back? You know what I mean? So that kind of like sparked that side of me to where I want my content to be important someday, but I knew I needed to mature, and but I always had that vision of having my content be important and like really have a message behind it rather than it just be comedy. So fast forward 5 years, I finished college. I didn't do any video stuff then. I went to college for communication, specifically media and social change. So I kind of knew that the media and social change degree helped me a little bit and understand media and like, I don't know, just appealing to the masses, I guess. And then once I got out of college, I knew that I wanted to do videos. I just knew it because I just remember the high school days. And so the news broadcast plus the nonprofit kind of fueled this whole, path of where I'm at now. And I know I do goofy stuff and stuff that's not really doesn't really have a message behind it per se, but I do have a couple skits where I sprinkle in a little bit of my truth and like my morals about how I think the world should be. But right now I'm just so focused on getting people in, getting the audience in, and then I flip the script on them, and then I do stuff that I really want to do, kind of like Jordan Peele, how he has Key and Peele, and then he does his movies and stuff. That's kind of like the path I want to go on. But
I'm so sorry for interrupting
no,
you.
it's okay.
I just want
Yeah.
like Jordan Peele is like one of my
Yeah.
like idols.
Yeah, he's great, man. His writing and his directing, like I didn't know he had it in him. To be honest with you, I just watched Key and Peele. You really don't know somebody, man. It's crazy. You see somebody in a certain light, and that's just how you see them. And then they come out with something different, and you're just like, whoa, I didn't know they could do this.
Right.
But yeah, that's the whole path, man. That news broadcast, the nonprofit, and then just saying screw it. And oh, by the way, I took one of my loans out and bought a camera with that, like my last semester of college. And I was like, I went to my guidance counselor. I was like, is this a bad idea to take out a loan and buy camera equipment with it? She looked at me and she was like, no, that's really smart actually, because a lot of kids, they go on spring break and use their loan money or, stuff like that. So I was like,
right.
I'm doing it. So yeah.
So dude, tell me more about like the POD thing. Like that is such a cool, that's so sick.
Yeah. So it started with my friend Marshawn McCarroll. They were twins, Marshawn and Marquand. And they were like the most talented kids in our high school, sing, rap, dance, all this kind of stuff. And they were in news broadcast too. And one day we were friends since high school, but one day when I was in college, them and this guy named Zach Fleer, they hit me up and they're like, hey, do you want to, start filming for us and, putting videos together? And I'm like, dude, yes. So that kind of started, and we did the whole feeding people, feeding the homeless, feeding kids, doing the school supplies, coat drive, stuff like that. And then it kind of fizzled out because we're young, you know what I mean? And we really don't know, we really don't know what we're doing when you're that young. We don't know what we're doing in this life anyways, but you really don't know what you're doing when you're young. And so I don't know, we just kind of, we just kind of fell out, I guess. Nothing really bad. Oh yeah, Matthew Quinn too, by the way. That's my roommate and my best friend. He was in it too. But yeah, man, we just kind of fell out, and then unfortunately, Marshawn passed away my junior year of college, so that kind of put a damper on things. It's still a thing today. Pursuing our dreams is still a thing today, ran by Marquand, but that definitely has a big impact on my life, like just seeing that you can use this video platform to make some light in this world, make a change or whatever, because we need more people to be on the positive side of things. We live in a dualistic reality, so like there's got to be some people on the good side, because there's always going to be people on the bad side.
I could not agree more. And it's like I think about that a lot when, and I don't know if you get caught up in this or not like sharing any of the stuff that you do, but it's like sometimes when I post, I'll just use this podcast as the specific example. Like when I'm posting a clip from the podcast or something, and it's, attached to this like positive caption, and, whatever we're saying in the video clip is like, hey, chase your dreams, be yourself, like figure out how to do good for the world. Like there's honestly a lot of times like I feel kind of dumb sometimes posting that, because I know it can come off so cheesy and cliche and like fake.
I understand what you mean, man. There's a lot of content creators out there who that's their niche. That's their thing.
Yeah.
But I think just like getting your vibe right now, I think you're a pretty balanced person, but I think it's just being balanced. Like you got good and bad, but as long as you're balanced, if you don't go too far to the good, too far to the bad, you don't get consumed by it. And as long as you're balanced, that's okay.
Yes. And that's why I loved even just the way that you explain that stuff of just like, it's the classic, like, well, the people who are doing bad in the world are never going to take a day off. So I can't either, because I want to put good out into the world. But that's like an inner battle that I have a lot, where I'm like, yes, I want to do good with these things, or sharing vlogs with tips and tricks or whatever. But you don't want to come off like that, like, I'm an influencer, please, like, do this. But at the same time, you want people to pay attention to it and listen to the message and hear those things. So you're going through like college, and you found your niche, I suppose, at that point in time. of, okay, I'm doing video, right? And you're also, again, you're balancing it with this like, hey, I'm going to aim to be a decent person.
Yeah.
I'm going to aim to be a good person. So, and even like applause from this side of the table, because that literally is such a cool thing I feel like to do. Not that you were like way young, but like just during that time.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think I would have done it though if they didn't ask me to be a part of it, you know?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when you're young, all you think about is your freaking self. I mean, you are the center of your own world, but like when you're young, you're really the center of your own world, you know? So
Right.
if they didn't reach out to me, I don't think I'd have the same mindset, you know what I mean? Or maybe I would, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's interesting to think, because like the way that I would explain, or like the way, like if you were like, hey, if you were asking me like, what do you think I would have stayed the same, or do you think I would have changed? I feel like it's kind of like the same thing with the being in front of the camera. I feel like you already had it in you. You were already that person, but it took an affirmation. It took somebody affirming like, hey, let's draw this out of you a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like they put in a little droplet of, you know, hey, do this.
Yeah,
be this way.
And
yeah,
because you could have easily been like, hey, I like to do the video thing, but I don't really care about this other stuff that you're doing. I'm not attracted or attached to what you're doing. I just want to point a camera.
Yeah.
So I really do. I mean, it sounds like you, again, at that, you know, quote unquote young of age, like you did have that balance of like, I want to be a good person and I want to create stuff. So like, cool. So the further you get into that, do you ever have that moment, because you said you went to college for communications and
media and social change.
Okay. Yeah. So was there ever, did you ever have that like classic, like I'm a young adult, like battle of like, I think I want to do this with my life, but I don't exactly know, but I should finish college and I should get this degree. Like, walk me through that. Did you have any of those moments where you're like, I want to do this, but I'm actually not sure?
No, I really didn't. I had no idea while I was in college. No idea at all. No, I feel like I was just going to class just to do it and get a piece of paper, because I was the only boy out of 5. I was 2 out of 5 boys to even graduate high school. The first one in you know, my mom's side to even go to college. So I really didn't even know what I was doing. I was just doing it to kind of please my mom and also just have that piece of paper. But literally my last semester, I was like, when I graduated, I was like, man, I'm not even happy, because I don't even know what I want to do. I don't know. I just, and I also have I don't do drugs or anything. I don't drink or smoke, but I did have a big turning point back in college. You know, you experiment with things, and I had a bad trip, and I almost dropped out of my last semester because I really thought this reality was not a real thing. I thought we live in an illusion. And I still do think we live in, you know, a physical illusion, but that's beside the point. So that kind of like set me on this path of like, dude, it doesn't matter anyway, so make a fool of yourself and make videos that are going to make yourself laugh, you know? I know that was like a big turn, like a turn there, but
no, I mean, you 100% answered the question, and there's so many things that I want to dive into there. So you said even making the choice in going to college was sort of I just feel like I have to do this sort of thing.
I was kind of pressured, you know, by my mom. I mean, you know, your mom always has good intentions for you.
Of course.
But your mom doesn't know you. You know, you're the only person that really kind of knows you. So yeah, like I kind of wanted to please my mom, because she, you know, put a lot of effort into me. I knew that as a kid, even though I was kind of rebellious, I guess, in her eyes. But yeah, I just did it to please her, to be honest with you.
And so you're navigating college, and you're just like, I don't know why. I mean, so how do you, and not that you have to walk me through a day to day, but I feel like that's got to be similar to a lot of people who are in college. Like, I feel like a lot of people have that feeling of like, I don't really know if I want to be here, because at that point in time, everyone's discovering really who they are.
Yeah.
And you haven't even really dipped your toes into the quote unquote real world yet, because it's just one form of school to the next form of school, and then you're supposed to go get a job. But I feel like that is such a developmental time frame.
Definitely. But when you're smoking weed every day, and, you know, I didn't drink, I did smoke weed in college, but when you're smoking weed every day and you're going through these motions, you get used to it, and you really don't remember why you're there. If you don't have, you know, any idea of why you're there in the first place, you really don't know why you're there. Again, it was just the whole money thing and knowing that I'm in debt and I need to get this piece of paper, pretty much, and pleasing my mom.
And so, forgive me if you've already said this, but
okay.
did you end up finishing college?
Yeah, I finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the piece of paper, and then, so was that at all like a gratifying feeling, or were you like, it's done? Oh my God, I cannot wait to go do something else?
Yeah, no, not at all, man. I was not happy on my graduation day. No, I love my mom and dad, okay? My dad's a little bit more positive than my mom. Let's just say that much. But on the graduation day, the first thing my mom says to me as I walk out of the auditorium, I wasn't happy anyways. I knew I was in debt. The first thing she says to me is, "Okay, now let's get your graduate's degree." And I'm just like, hell no. Like, I don't want to do that, you know? So I was not happy that day, you know? And I just knew that I was in a hole of some sorts. I couldn't tell you what that hole was, but I just felt so buried.
Right.
And I knew I needed to do something to make myself happy, or just anything to make me feel good about myself or this world that I live in. So once I picked up that camera, though, that was when I felt good, I guess.
So, man, I keep thinking of so many questions. I'm sorry.
You're good.
My brain just going 100 miles an hour. So, okay, can I ask you a deep question?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
You said dad's a little bit more positive than mom. Mom's a little bit negative.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting with you right now, I don't get any sense of a negative person. But I think it's very easy as we grow up to you kind of assume the identity of your parents, or if they do certain things. And I'm not saying abuse or anything that. No. I'm saying just the tone in which they talk,
For sure.
You know, whatever it is. You said you were a little bit rebellious as a kid. Was that because it was like, oh man, me and my mom just like don't really see eye to eye. Like I'm not doing crazy things and she's not either, but we're just off enough. And so I guess that's part one of the question, but also part two is, how do you think the negativity or any part of the negative environment that you could have identified, how didn't that stick with you, or did it and you just found a way to balance it?
Yeah. So
I know it's a loaded question.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes I do forget questions, but I really don't want to rag on my mom too much. I do love her, like I said, but when you go through 4 sons and they cause you a lot of issues when you're a parent, totally understanding of why my mom was the way she was.
Everybody's human.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that my brothers are total fuck-ups, but like, you know, there was drugs involved, all kinds of just family drama like that. So I understand where my mom's coming from, the way she raised me, and she did a great job. She provided me everything I needed, but man, it's just like at some point it's like the love went away and it was more of, let me put you in this cookie cutter and shape you the way that I want you to be. So I think, and I'm not a parent, I don't know, but as a parent, I think you should be a little more balanced. Don't be so, you know, don't be a dictator. Don't be too loving. I think it's, like I said, dude, it's all about that balance. And what was the second part of that question? Do you remember?
Of more so like how didn't that basically rub off on you?
Right.
Like,
so I think I just noticed other people in the world and how they acted on a day-to-day basis. I can't give you a specific person, but just seeing how a simple thing like a hug or, hey, how you doing? You know, it's good to see you. Stuff like that really kind of shaped that part of me. I don't think her quote-unquote negativity rubbed off on me because I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be a person that people can come to and feed off my energy. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like I wanted to be a person that could, again, radiate good energy. I think that was like the turning point for me because, again, seeing other people radiate that energy, that was attractive to me. So I wanted to be kind of like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
100%. Well, and I asked that because, you know, I'm not just like, hey, let me dig in and like, hey, dude, tell me all the dark secrets. Like, I can relate in that sense, and it always interests me when there is any sort of like, hey, there was a slightly maybe like negative thing when I was growing up.
Yeah, by the way, guys, I have mommy issues if you can't tell, you know?
But like I'm always interested to know that because like I had sort of, I definitely had like a, you know, large portion of like negativity while I was growing up. And I always wonder like, man, how did that not, you know, like I know my answers of like, maybe like, how did that not rub off on me? Or how am I not like, oh my God, this was terrible when I was growing up or whatever. Like I didn't have an awful childhood by any means, but you have those sort of things. And it is, I feel like, easy for a lot of people to almost maybe forget that, you know, when that becomes such a natural part of your day to day as you grow up, you almost kind of mold into that and you carry some of those things with you.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I asked, because I'm like, okay, well, like I'm still trying to figure out why I'm not like pissy all the time because, you know, whatever. And again, it's like, you just joked about like, hey, I've got like some mommy issues, whatever. Yeah. But, and it's so interesting to me because again, you radiate, I think, everything that you're wanting to radiate. Like,
I try to, man, and I feel like, dude, you're on the same path, bro. I don't know what kind of negativity you had in your life, if it was the same from your parents or whatever. But dude, it's a choice, man. It's literally a choice.
Yeah.
I said out to you guys earlier, to you and Josh, be more reflective than you are reactive, because once you reflect a little bit, then you can kind of choose how you react. It's that simple, and it's hard for some people to be more reflective.
It is. It is. And I think it really does come down to identifying, like, taking yourself out of the bubble that you're in, which kind of sounds like what you were doing as you were growing up, of like, okay, I'm experiencing this, but this is what I want to give into the world. This is what I want to receive from the world. So it is like taking yourself out of that, like, what is happening right now, and more so, who do I just want to be?
Yeah.
How can I not let this truly affect me? And then, or sometimes it's just as simple as like, hey, I was treated kind of shitty and I know how I felt. I don't ever want that to be, how I treat anybody else. So it does kind of have that opposite trajectory.
Yeah, and but I do want to say too, like, we are American kids and we are very privileged. I don't want
100%.
These stories to sound like, oh, that is so bad. And we both know that, but like, yeah, dude, first world problems.
Oh,
but still,
absolutely.
it still has an impact on the world, though. So
yes,
yeah.
My issue growing up was I had a incredibly negative and like mentally abusive stepmom for a while.
Got you.
But she would buy me any toy that I wanted. So 100% a first world problem. Yeah. So 100% agree with you. Like, and it does feel sometimes like, oh man, we're just complaining about like such silly stuff. But again, it's always interesting to me to like know, again, like, man, you're radiating this positive energy, and that's why I wanted to get to know you and why I wanted to have you on the show. So again, when I hear something like that, of like, okay, how didn't you just carry that weight with you and just be like, fuck it, I don't know, it was kind of hard, I'm pissed.
That's true, man. It's funny to see people. I don't want to say I'm some fucking guru or anything, but I'm very observant. Like I said, even when I started, noticing how my brother was funny, I've always been very observant of the way people act, and like, I just think, we navigate through this world and we're very judgy, and I catch myself judging all the time. I don't know where these thoughts come from, but as long as you can grab a hold of that and just say, get the fuck out of my head, I don't know what you're doing here, I don't know where you came from, then you're kind of like on a good path. You know what I mean?
100%. So we're talking about kind of like the views of the world sort of thing. And we don't have to go down this path if you don't want to. But before we dive deeper into like the video and getting out of college, you said something earlier that I really, really want your perspective on. Yeah. And I want you to just take me down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
So you were like, did some experimenting in college and whatever. And I feel like I view this world a little bit differently. What do you mean when you say that? And literally take this podcast down whatever way because I'm saying that not even to be funny. I'm saying that because I feel like I never get to have these conversations with anyone. Yeah. And I love these conversations. Yeah. So when you said that earlier, what did you mean? And
it's gonna sound like I'm some crazy hippie, but I just want to preface by saying I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I barely even masturbate. I try not to give into like worldly physical things all the time, even when it comes to eating, you know what I mean? Because I know that we aren't just physical beings, that our souls are eternal. That's what I believe, at least. I'm not religious by any means, but I don't know, man. I just had a really crazy trip, and it made me view the world as like, I don't want to say simulation because that's what everyone says, but screw it, I'll say simulation. It made me view it that way. Maybe it's like a trick or something, who wins, your ego or your soul, basically. And I think the less, we are in a constant battle with our egos every day. And I think the less you give into your ego, the better off you are after you're gone from this physical world. Or who knows what happens, But I don't know. It's so weird to just say that this world isn't real, because that means I'm saying you're not real, or you're like some type of robot or something, and that can be very offensive. But I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, this whole life is just so funny, and I don't understand. Did I ask to be here? Did I do something wrong? Is this hell? Is this heaven? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so weird. It's like you're always searching for the answers. I feel myself searching for the answers every single day, and it can make you crazy. But as long as you can like find some balance within that, like I said, balance is key. But I think that's the main thing. As long as you can find balance, because again, like I said, I ask that question every single day. What am I doing here? What's my purpose? Do I even have a purpose? Is it just random? So yeah, I try not to view it in a negative way anymore, but I did at one point. I did view that, this world isn't real in a negative way. I feel like I was in some sort of mousetrap, or just like a video game that I have to find my way out of, or something.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. Is like, what do you mean by you viewed it in a negative way? Like, so you kind of have that like little bit of a turning point where you're like, all right, I'm kind of questioning everything, and so I guess that's what you meant, is just like you felt like, hey, I don't know what this place is, but I feel like I'm trapped here.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how much did you let that like negatively affect? Was it literally like, I have no purpose, there's no meaning to anything? Like,
So this happened right before my last semester, So again, I almost dropped out of college because I didn't think anything was real. I went down the rabbit hole of, finding about all these Eastern religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, which Taoism was the thing that got me out of it. I'll talk about that in a second. But just going down this rabbit hole of, the whole chakra shit, and like the, being a vegetarian, vegan, like all these different things that I thought that would give me some answers, but ultimately never really gave me any answers. And I think just letting go of trying to find the answers is key too. Like I said, I was trying to figure out the answer every day. I still do. And it's like you drive yourself crazy. But I was very negative in a sense, like, dude, I didn't even want to have sex with my girlfriend. I thought that she was like just an entity that was not good for my life or something. I don't know. It just put me down this really weird path and had me thinking all these crazy kind of ways. And it took a while to get that balance. And what did give me the balance was Taoism, which is an Eastern philosophy. It's not really a religion. The best, and they even say in the opening lines, to try and describe the Tao, which means the way of life, basically, to try and describe it, you're doing it injustice anyways. It's like trying to describe God. You can't really describe God. It's like, it just is. So Taoism is like, the best way to describe it is you're flowing down this river, the river of life. You hit a couple rocks here and there, but you keep on going with the flow. You just, you let things hit you and you just let it go. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's kind of what brought me out of the negativity.
Yeah, you're kind of blowing my mind right now, because I just never get to have these
Dude,
sort of
I'm gonna trip your
conversations.
balls today.
Dude, let me tell you, simulation,
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating to me, because that stuff, like, I love that sort of stuff. I love reading, watching anything, like, even if it's a silly like conspiracy that you can tell, you're like, this is like kind of like,
We're still interested though,
it's still 100% like, which again is why I'm like, tell me what you thought and what you felt. And obviously it was negative for a while. You found a way to make it positive. And now, so do you think, like, and obviously there is no answer, so I'm not asking you like, what is your exact answer that you will tell everybody listening to this?
What's my opinion?
Well, yeah. What is your thought now? Is it like, is everybody energies that are a part of this? Are we just are we just stardust that formed into this, sort of thing? Like, are we all a part of the greater universe? Because, like, I always wonder those, like, I'm sorry if I'm like derailing.
No,
from
go ahead.
The main point of this podcast, but I'm always so interested in like synchronicities.
Synchronicity,
and the whole like just happenstance, and you think about something and then the person ends up texting you, or you whatever it is, or I remember one time a friend of mine, and I know that he got it from somewhere else because we loved talking about stuff like this. So he was like, I need to share this with you. But he was like, man, I came across this cool idea that talked about how the universe and energies and everything and ideas are constantly flowing and existing everywhere. And why we sometimes get a spark of inspiration is almost like you dipped a net into a river and it just so happened to catch in your net.
Right.
Which is why sometimes randomly you're like, I just thought of this thing and I want to do this thing now.
Yeah.
And I know I just threw 100 different things at you, but I'm just excited to.
The synchronicity thing is what caught my attention.
Yes.
So that's what almost made me believe that we live in a video game, is the observation of synchronicity when it first happened, after that whole period of me being negative and thinking this world wasn't real, which, by the way, I still believe that. Anyways, the synchronicity thing freaked me the fuck out, man. Like, I didn't realize that my thoughts were connected to the universe, and anything that I would think of, I would notice it, and I still do today, and it still freaks me out sometimes. But it's easier to let things go now. It's been a while, but yeah, like you said, you'll think of things, or somebody will text you, or something will happen in this physical realm that you were thinking of, or just anything that relates to your life that will happen at a certain point in time, and you can be freaked out by it. So that's what made me think it was like a game that we're playing. I don't know.
Right. And that was just because you started to identify so many strange occurrences of just like, oh, I thought about this and this thing happened. Because I know there's like a I guess scientific explanation. It's frontal something. I can't remember what the actual
I think
name
I know
of
what
it
you're
is.
talking about.
But it's like where if you let's say you get online and you think about buying a red Mercedes,
Right.
and you're like, oh, I'm thinking about buying this, blah blah blah. But now that that's in the forefront of your mind, now whenever you're driving, you're going to notice whenever a red Mercedes drives by.
Yeah.
Where maybe they were there the whole time, but now that it's at the forefront of your mind,
That's
your
true.
attention is drawn to those more.
Yeah.
And like, do you think that some of that is just like, well, hey, if you're thinking about something, you're gonna notice it a lot more?
It's either what you said or the game is really messing with you.
Yes, which is, can we? Sorry, I'm just asking you so many
No,
dumb
dude.
questions.
I like talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're like, dude, get back to like the comedy
no.
skits
I'd
thing.
rather talk about this stuff too.
What have you investigated much? Not investigated. That sounds like we're trying to be a conspiracy freaking podcast. That's not like we're not trying to share opinions.
Have I went down the rabbit hole of?
Have you went down the rabbit hole of the whole like Mandela effect thing and how that because like I love reading about that stuff. Some of it I'm like, I feel somebody just photoshopped this picture and like added an extra letter to JCPenney or whatever. But like, what are your thoughts on that?
So that's like one of the things I never really dived into. I know about it, but I've never dove into that much. I'm sure you could tell me a lot more than I know.
Well, I'm so fascinated by the idea of, because it goes into this deeper thing when we're talking about like is the world real, right? Are we living in a simulation, and how many dimensions exist, what, all that sort of stuff, and where the Mandela effect like leans into that I really am interested in, because yes, the Berenstain Bears thing is like, that's fun. I'm speaking all this from enjoyment, not that I think that I know anything, but it's enjoyable to read those things and see like, oh wait, this logo used to be that. And sometimes I'm like, if this is real, they probably just rebranded. Calm down. You know what I mean? But where it goes deeper that fascinates me is the idea of parallel dimensions, or the idea of, if this world is a simulation, it literally is a program switch that, just like you would in a video game, you're like, we need to re-render this building here.
Yeah.
And so that happens, and something gets re-rendered, and now it's completely different. And now everybody who does notice those things in our world is like, wait, this is something that it didn't used to be. And it's literally just dude, I don't know, it literally changed. But where I was going with the parallel dimension thing, because I love that idea. And I don't know if you ever
probably love
that.
Rick and Morty.
I love
Rick and Morty too. So,
and I love the whole parallel dimension idea. And what's a really fun thought to me is some of these Mandela effect things come from the idea that parallel dimensions can like grind up against each other sometimes and intertwine. So you get that slight like it sort of just interchanges like two I don't know, like projector screens or something that kind of like interlace their pictures.
I have something to say about projector screens here in a second, but I know where you're going with this, man. That is very interesting. Now I'm like starting to remember what the Mandela effect is. And that's what is just so interesting to me. That is like, is that possible? Is it possible that yes, our I don't even remember most of them. Our JCPenney logo was this, but then there's some quote unquote glitch in the system, right,
that actually brought another dimension's JCPenney logo.
Dude, that's insane to think about.
That's crazy, and it's so, I love, like, I'll dive down any of those rabbit holes, and I will always just sit there and I'll be that person who's just like scrolling and reading and just like, oh my God. And again, it's not that I'm like 100% this is what it is, like, but I'm like,
at least you're spending your times of like thinking on stuff like that rather than, I don't even want to say anything else, but at least you're diving down that hole, At least it can make you a little crazy sometimes, but it's fun, and like you're kind of like, you are still trying to figure out what you're doing here. So it's like, it's a good thing.
None of that has ever made me, luckily so far, question, I'm not like, oh my God, like this is fake. This is like whatever. I'm just like, that's a cool possibility.
Right.
Just like any like conspiracy.
At least you're open to it, man. That speaks volumes, seriously.
Right.
Because at least you're not somebody who's like, this is what it is, and this is, even though this is just a belief, this is what it is. This is the truth. At least you're not like that. At least you're open about it. So.
Right. Well, I think wouldn't you think it's more fun to be open?
Oh, for sure, man.
It's way more fun to be open-minded about things.
I love when my legs are open, man.
Dude, it's the best thing.
Yeah, it's the best feeling.
Well, it's like, I just feel like it is. It's just way more fun
to
hear just different perspectives, different ideas. And, there's some people that I'll talk to and be like, hey, do you know about this conspiracy? And they're like, no. That's stupid. It's a conspiracy. It's fake. It's dumb. It's whatever. And I'm like, man, like, don't you want to just at least be entertained by the story?
Exactly, yeah,
like,
yeah. So I will tell you about like what exactly I think. I know you were going to ask this question earlier. I think you were going to, at least. But what do you think the answer is? What is your opinion on this reality? And so recently I met a friend through Instagram. Her name's Selena, and she gave me this book to read. It's called The Disappearance of the Universe. And it basically is just a story about a guy who met these two entities, and basically, they were just trying to tell him what this universe is all about. And the way that he, the things that he speaks about in the book, man, it really opens your eyes to everything. And I don't know. Okay, so basically the best way I can describe it is like your body is the projector, and you're projecting out this image into this reality. Like the projector screen, like this world is the projector screen. It's the movie. It's your show. And so, your soul is projecting this out, and every person that you're seeing in front of you is just another version of yourself. And you're going to have the bad versions of yourself, the quote-unquote bad versions, or the quote-unquote good versions of yourself. And like I said, that balance, I think that's what your goal is in this movie or this projection, is to be the balance in all of this. Because I'm viewing you right now as myself, literally. I'm not even joking. Like, you are me, and you're just another side of me that may not be projected from this body. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, and I could be taking this the wrong way, but I feel like even in a very, very like layman's terms, it sort of almost feeds into the classic idea of like treat people how you want to be treated, sort of thing. Like you can see yourself in other people, which leads to empathy, which leads to respect, which leads to whatever it may be.
Righteousness.
Did I butcher that, or did I sort of
no.
that's
a very like you said, layman, but we learned that stuff as a kid.
Right.
These are simple lessons that we learned as a kid, and I think that's a good way to describe it too for people who aren't as deep as we might be, into this kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, because I can. Yeah. Literally, we could take the deepest of dives, because it's always, again, I love getting people's point of view on this stuff, especially like the parallel dimensions and like, does that exist? Does this exist? Like, even the idea of dreams, like, I don't know how you've probably maybe taken deep dives into like.
I don't know. I know that some of my dreams are crazy. And the fact that I don't jerk off, I have wet dreams still. It's like I'm a high school kid. So
I love the idea that, and I read this or heard about this somewhere, that the idea that when you dream, you are getting glimpses of other versions of you,
I've heard
experiencing different things, because the idea of infinite dimensions.
Right.
So literally
infinite use.
Everything is possible. So when you have that zombie apocalypse dream where you're running and there's a, whatever, it's like, that's actually, and like, and where that comes from is like the idea that the universe, you are a part, you are energy of the universe, which means in a way you are connected to every single version of you.
Right.
And I feel like that, like, and it really could just be also like, oh yeah, you go to sleep and your mind just goes to work and sending out all these things and just plays some movies for you while you sleep. And then sometimes you remember them. Or sometimes you wake up and you're in that cold sweat, or you feel like it was real just because your brain thought it was real and it doesn't know how to differentiate it. But even things like that, I'm like, dude, I love that. Like, there's times like I'll wake up and, I mean, there's like, quite often I feel like I have dreams where I'm like, that was like real, like for like sure real.
I know what you mean.
And I know that that's just a dream, and anyone could be sitting here being like, yeah, dude. I have crazy dreams too.
Yeah.
But I love to just think of that as possibly more.
Are you religious or anything?
No.
No? Okay,
no.
I was just wondering.
I'm not anti-religious.
Right.
But I'm not like, hey, yeah, I am this.
Do you believe in like a God, or do you believe in God, or do you believe in like a oneness of something? You know what I mean? I don't
I
know.
think where I land with that is I totally believe that it's possible.
Okay.
Like I'm again, it's kind of like the open-mindedness thing,
Yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
just like, yeah, if somebody tells me that that's what they believe, or they think that, no, I talked to Jesus or this thing, I'm like, yeah, that's
dude,
awesome.
that's your
How
reality.
what did you get from it? How did
Yeah.
you feel? Like, how did that make you feel? Like, whether there's a physical person sitting up there on a cloud, like looking and being like, look at these guys podcast
Right.
and talking about me, or it's just, it's an energy, it's the universe, it's something, whatever, or it could be nothing. Like, I love thinking about all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to simply answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I love that I don't know, but I think all of it is totally possible.
Right. Right.
You know what I
understand.
mean?
But I was just wondering if you came from like a religious background or anything. So
Yeah, like, I mean, like, family's religious, not like hyper religious or anything, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, growing up, it was like church on Sundays, pray before dinner, you know, that sort of thing. Like, hey, don't be bad, or like God will be mad at you,
Right,
like
right, yeah.
that sort of thing.
Understand.
But it was never anything crazy. But I think again, it like, just more so growing up, I was like, okay, well, that's a perspective, and like, honestly, like, yeah, he, she, it, whatever, like, could totally be up there. And
So can I ask you? Okay,
yeah,
we're about to switch. We're about to go into third gear here. I'm about to switch it on you.
let's do
So,
it. Let's kick it.
How I know you told me the story about how you met Josh, but what is your role? Like, you guys are definitely partners in all, you know, the work that you do. What is your role in it? Are you doing the video stuff too? Are you doing audio? Like, what are you doing in it?
Yeah, so where I've landed is directing.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like the vision person all the time, right? And that was sort of like a natural fit.
Okay.
And it, just because it wasn't like, I want the cool name tag as director, I think
Yeah.
I'm cool. Like, I think in a way it honestly feeds off of kind of what we were just talking about. Like, I've always been that, just kind of like the ideas and the vision and what we could do, and let's try this and let's try that, and be open-minded, think outside the box, that sort of thing, where when he and I started working together, he brought a technical side that I did not
Right.
have. Because before he and I worked together, I had never touched a camera.
Right.
That was never my goal. I was just like, I just want to try things. I just want to do stuff. I want to create things. I want to make art, whatever it is. And so, yeah, the simplest way to put it is directing.
Okay.
That's where my most natural fit has come from, of, again, not wanting to like be in control and lead the sets.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, in Josh and I's case, at least, he's definitely way more like technical with, like, he knows how to execute an idea, where I do, but I'm way more in like the, all right, I'm just going to kind of see the overall scope, and a lot of communication too. Like, that's even where that naturally came from. Like, back when he and I first started, was he always was like, I need to focus on setting up these lights and this camera.
Yeah.
Can you please just talk to the client?
Right.
And I'm
That makes sense.
Clearly, as you can tell, I love to talk
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. You seriously, no, there's a lot more people who talk more than you, bro. Trust me.
Dope.
So
Well,
is there anybody else in your like little group, or is it just you two?
So we go in and out of what I would say like other freelancers and team
Yeah.
members and stuff like that.
Other
We do.
cliques.
We've built kind of like a core team that it's like people you can rely on.
Okay.
But definitely over the years, like, I can't deny, and this is honestly, it's funny you bring this up, because it's a question I wanted to ask you at some point. Is, you know, over the years, like, you get, when you're doing, I think, anything, and you're trying to build a team, it's hard to find that balance amongst the team of people who see the vision at least similar enough to how you
Yeah.
do, to really get on board.
Okay.
So, and I know I'm being long-winded with this, and I apologize.
No,
but,
no. That's why I asked. man.
you know, so we have kind of a core team that we pick and choose from when the project needs it. But over the years, like, we've ran through several people, and that's not because it's like some weird dictatorship that we can't keep people in.
Yeah.
It's more so just like, it's hard to align with people
Yeah.
sometimes.
And
I'm
it,
like,
it is what it is.
yeah,
too, you know?
and sometimes too, it's like, it's a major thing I've learned about myself, is to not, you know, we were talking about seeing yourself in other people, but you know, I've tried to learn to not project myself, my wants and needs,
Yeah.
onto other people.
Yeah,
So
it's
if we
hard to
are,
do.
if we're bringing somebody in on an idea, a project, you have to understand, well, what's their perspective?
Mm-hmm.
What do they or do they not want out of this experience with you? Because there's some people over the years that we've brought in, and, you know, we've like trained them how to like do lighting for a production.
Yeah.
And then we're like, because I love building people up, so we're always like, you could go freelance and do this, and you could make money, and you could have an X amount day rate, and dude, you could totally get jobs. We're gonna refer you. And they don't want that.
Yeah.
They wanted to help us.
Right.
You
Makes
know
sense,
what I
yeah.
mean? So I think I answered your
No, you did.
original question. It's just sort of a revolving door of like whoever wants to be a part of it. And
It's whoever's in the group chat that says, yo, let's do it.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
get it.
Whoever's genuinely down and wants to be a part of it. Now, I guess to kind of lead into the question I had for you, like, have you felt that like similar way where it's like, and I don't mean even a negative way of like, I had this one friend, I had to get them the fuck out of here. But you know, pursuing the things that you're pursuing, and just also, I'll just sum that up as like creativity in general.
Yeah.
Have you felt like it's been like a difficult kind of journey of like, man, finding my like core team has been kind of hard, or finding those like pillars that I can rely on to help push me while I also want to be pushing other people? Like, has that been a difficult thing for you to navigate? Or are you like, dude, I honestly like, I just like found my group and it's been like nice.
So yeah, it started out with Benny. I met him of my last semester in college, and kind of when he graduated a year later, we kind of linked up because he's from Columbus, and then we did our first skit together. So I knew he was funny. He made me laugh naturally, and I knew he would be good on camera. And lo and behold, he had been doing this stuff in high school just like I did, not news broadcast, but he would do videos with other people. So I knew that was like such an organic and like just a natural relationship. And yeah, that was like the first one where I was like, okay, cool. I got my main guy with me. Like, we got yin and yang right here, you know? And then I always had friends who I thought were funny. So most of them are friends of people that I know, and we've been friends for a long time. And my group kind of came together. Our group, sorry, I don't like to talk like it's just my thing, but our group kind of came together and just we formed a little show. I don't know. And we got Taylor, the bald chick. We got her boyfriend, Zach. They're my best friends. I love them to death. And Taylor's one of the most talented girls I've ever met, human beings I've ever met in my life. And she's such a genuine, kind soul. So I think I'm very selective about the people, to answer your question. I'm very selective and like very picky about the people who I consider to be in the group, even though I'm really open to other people being a part of the projects. And like just last night, you know, we filmed a skit in a salon. This girl, I put on my story, I was like, hey, I need a salon to film in. And, you know, whoever replied, I'd be like, hey, I can offer you a service in return, you know, for letting us film there. But this girl was very consistent about hitting me up to do the skit. And it's because she genuinely liked our content and she thought we were funny. And I love when people are genuine like that. And so just last night, randomly met this girl and her boyfriend, and they let us come in and film a skit there. And it worked out so good. And those are the moments that I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I'm open to meeting new people, letting other people's ideas come into an idea that I already have in my head, and changing the way that we film things. And like, I think that's really cool. And it's really an organic feeling, and it feels good to not be so closed-minded about your projects, because you do have a certain vision of where you want your project to go and how you want it to be, how you want to view it on, you know, once it's all edited and done. But I think once people, you know, catch the wind of what you're trying to do, and then they add their little spice to it, that's the best feeling, because you know everyone's happy. And again, even though I'm selective with who I bring in, that just opens the door for so many more opportunities and ideas and stuff. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I'm kind of on that same wave of like, I have, you know, over the years of like trying so many things with friends, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but the point I'm making is like, it's easy sometimes, like you hear that friend who's like, I had this idea, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then when you're the type of person who's like, let's do it, I'm gonna try and encourage you as much as humanly possible to do it. I want to help how I can. Again, you kind of project yourself onto them, when maybe they're like, honestly, dude, that was just kind of like a cool idea. I think it's okay to be selective.
Sometimes. Yeah, it's really good to be selective, dude. Trust me. But you just don't want to work with anybody, because I was always a yes person, and sometimes I'm still learning how to say no to people. Like, it's tough, man, because you want to be nice to everybody. But being selective is very important. I had something. What were you just saying? I cut you off.
Just the idea of, I guess, maybe finding that balance of like, it is okay to be selective. And the people, like, you have friends who kind of run an idea past you and not projecting yourself.
Okay.
Like,
I knew the first moment that I was open to other people's, that's what I was going to say. The first moment I was open to other people's ideas is when I met Kyle. Kyle was like the only stand-up comedian in our group. And, you know, I do understand comedy to a certain degree, but I think he brought so much more in, and he was the first person to kind of like broaden my horizons when it comes to this comedy stuff, because he actually is very funny, and the things that he comes up with like on the spot, that was very inspiring to me, and like that just allowed me to open the door to more people. So he was like a big factor in that, and he's the first person to like help me write skits and like all this stuff. And then that allowed me also to not project my wants and, you know, needs onto other people, like you were saying. Like it allowed me to just throw an idea out there and be like, hey, is this good? No? Okay, I'll think of another idea. You know, it allowed me to be, because, okay, at the end of the day, this is my thing. I realized that I did have this idea and I started it, right? But, you know, like you said, you don't want to project your wants onto everybody else, and it create this thing where you're just this control freak. So again, just, yeah, being selective, but also being open. It's like a balance. That helped it, you know, really form. And like, I don't know. I guess I'm ranting.
No, you're not. You're making total sense, because it is all about finding that balance of, you want to be stern and selective about who am I welcoming into my ideas. Is it just somebody who is currently maybe excited or hyped on the idea of being involved, or is it somebody who truly wants to see it through like I do? So you have to find that alignment. And I think it's important, because when you find that quote unquote balance where you're not like, oh, he's the dictator, like it's his idea, blah, blah, blah. But I think there comes a time when you do find that strictness on who you will involve in your projects, it sort of, and tell me if you think anything different, but it sort of maybe feeds into that whole idea of like the law of attraction sort of thing, that when whatever you put out, you will begin to maybe receive, or when you start, you know, setting yourself up as a certain person in a certain way, if you set yourself up as like, hey, any idea that I do, it's going to be taken seriously. And I don't mean that in like the quality or the gear or the, you know, whatever.
Well, it's your work.
Yes.
You know?
Like, what is the energy? Like, you put that like stamp of you set your bar basically. And I think that feeds into kind of like the whole law of attraction thing, where it's like, if you're putting that out, well, then gradually, like you were saying, you're going to start drawing those people in who are attracted to what you're putting out. And I don't mean the content, I mean the energy in a way, right? You're going to get people who, chances are, they're going to be a little bit more like-minded, or they're going to be a little bit more challenging in the right ways, or they're going to be able to actually help you push towards your goal, because you're projecting that. You know, in the positive way.
Yeah, the most challenging thing, something that challenged me in a good way was, I know I keep saying this because you said it, but you know, you don't want to project your wants on other people. The best challenge for me was Benny, because he was the one that started it with me. And I think he's so good. I think he's one of the best people I've seen on camera personally. I just love to see his face, and I love to see his acting on camera, and I think other people do too. And I think the most challenging thing for me was to understand that he may not want to be in some skits sometimes. And, you know, he may not be feeling this certain part sometimes. Because, you know, when you have an idea, you get really excited about something. And that can kind of, I don't know, that can kind of turn you into somebody that you might not be. And that was the most challenging thing, was to hear him say, maybe that's not the right role for me. And I'm just like, but you're so funny and everybody wants to see you. That's not what he wants to do, you know? It's not what he wants to do. But that's okay with me now. And like, that was a big challenge for me, was to, most people would say yes to anything when it comes to this video stuff. But having somebody so close to you challenge you in that way is very healthy, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
And it's understanding. It's coming to that understanding, I think, is huge. And I'm not perfect at that, but it's something in the recent years that I've been trying to get better at, is finding that balance of like, okay, I can't make this person do this, because even if you get them to physically be there or be involved, that doesn't mean that mentally they're there. Doesn't mean that you've actually totally made them want to do it. Maybe they said yes. Hey, yeah, sure, dude, I'll come help you, whatever. And I think if that's even a mistake that I feel like, you know, I made for a while, or that we made in production and stuff, is like, we were just looking for people that would say yes, and we wouldn't really investigate past why they said yes, because it was like, oh my God, they're down. That means
that's all that matters.
They care about it as much as we do, and they're here, and that's great. And then it becomes this thing where like, maybe you're stressing that person out because you're on a 10 and they're like working off a 5.
Exactly.
And maybe it's dope that they were down, but that doesn't mean that they're always the right fit. Just like even in that specific example of like a role in a skit, hey, maybe they're down, or maybe you can see why it could work, but if they can't see themselves working that, if they can't see, then it's like, okay, then maybe it isn't the right
sure.
fit. And okay, how do we work around that?
Yeah, it kind of helped me. Consent is always a topic nowadays. Usually, it pertains to sex and stuff. But consent's good with everything. Making sure that people are okay with something before you go into it, even after they're down. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, are you okay with this? Are you okay that I might make you look like this or something? That's very important.
Yeah, I mean that really is huge, and a lot. And I mean, it's the same thing of just like being super pushy of like, you could do this and you could do that, and oh my God, like take all this energy and do something with it. Go be a freelancer, and it's like, maybe that's not what that's not what they said yes to. Like I've had
trust too,
Yes, yeah. So it's like I've had friends just be like, dude, like I just want to be on your guys' sets. That's all. I don't need to. So whatever skills I need to help you, that's all I need.
Right.
I'm not trying to do anything else. I appreciate the advice or the introduction to somebody else or whatever. But it's like, this is what I get out of this. That's all I need. And we get different things out of it.
Yeah.
So rewinding all the way back.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
You pick up the camera finally.
Okay.
College is done. You've decided like, all right, I checked that off the list. Is that immediately when it's like, all right, time to start making the things that I want to make?
Yeah, pretty much, man. It took a year though. I mean, I was still dating my girlfriend at the time, or my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I went through a whole year of just serving tables at Texas Roadhouse, even though I was a vegan. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird and contradicting, but took like a year to pick up the camera because I already had it, and then took out some freaking credit cards, man, and bought some more equipment, and that kind of like made me do it. I think the financial part made me do it.
That's what I was going to ask is like, do you feel like that was like the kind of like push over the ledge moment of like, listen, we're committing.
Yeah.
Like we got to go hard now.
Yeah. It was like a side of me that was just like, hey dude, I know you're a little scared, but I'm going to do this for you. So yeah, I took out some credit cards, got some camera equipment, and here we are.
And so how long ago was that? Like how long has that timeline been? Has it just been like literally, dude, a year? Or is it like, it was like 6 years ago?
Oh, you mean like the whole taking the camera equipment out?
Yeah, like when you officially were like, all right, I'm buying all this camera equipment. Now
I did it a year and I want to say 8 months ago, almost 2 years ago.
Man, that I genuinely would have been like, oh yeah, that was like 4 years ago. Just like again, patting you on the back of just like seeing what you do and how you do it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Honestly, I think it's just because of you're exposed to a lot of media when you're a kid. So I think it's just literally observing so hard about what makes you feel good watching something, or what makes you laugh, and then trying to implement that. Because I don't think anything is truly original. I think you're influenced by something all the time. So I think it's just really being a student of comedy or student of any genre. But yeah, the whole camera thing, man. Like I still have the credit card debt, but like I'm down this path now, and there's no getting off of it for me. I'm not going back. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is when someone wants to get involved in something and kind of like you where you're like, I'm going into debt for this, time to buy this gear. How important do you think it is for somebody to truly be like all in on something?
Yeah, it's very important. Very important. I was never really truly in on anything, 100% in on anything until that moment in my life, I don't think. So it's really important, man. As long as it's like you're giving up a piece of yourself for it's like you're giving up a piece of yourself for a version of yourself that you want to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I gave up my laziness. I gave up my what ifs, and just started doing it, man.
How hard? I mean, I guess how hard was it for you, or why do you think it's so hard for so many people to take that first step? Is it like fear of failure, or is it just unsureness of?
I don't know if it. People always say that fear of failure because we fail all the time, man. We fail every day, but I think it's more of just you worrying about what other people think. Like, I still care about what other people think. I'm not going to be that person that's going to sit here and say I don't care what anybody thinks. I do. I care what my friends think. The people that I care about, I really do care what they think. But as far as past them, I really kind of don't care. So I think it's a level of staying true to yourself, staying true to your morals, and kind of not caring what people think to a certain degree.
How would you? And sorry if this puts you on the spot.
No.
What advice would you give to somebody who is caught up in that? Like, 'cause especially someone as yourself who is putting out content, who's leaning in, comedy and all that sort of stuff, trying to tell these stories and add layers to it and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
To sit and be like, I'm not really worried what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are caught up on that. How what would you say to like, here's just how to kind of make that breakthrough. Or here's
Yeah.
how to like view it differently.
I think the most important thing I would say is if it makes you, well, I'll talk about comedy in general. If it makes you laugh, dude, that's it. It's it. I'm telling you. If it makes you laugh, put it out, because I've had a lot of projects to where I've questioned if it's funny or not, but I remember editing it and I remember laughing at my edits and I'm like, oh no, dude, it made you laugh. It's funny. But if it doesn't make you laugh, don't put it out. Do it again. Just do it again. Do it over, you know?
It's kind of just going to that thing of like, if it makes you feel something,
Yeah, pretty
it'll
much.
make somebody else feel something. Also, because that feeds into the idea that you did give this your true energy.
Exactly.
You did give this a go, which means it is an authentic piece of you.
Exactly.
Which is, you know, you're not putting on a facade. You're not faking something, which,
Right.
I mean, can still work. I'm not saying...
Dude, it's easy to fall in that hole, though. It's easy to fall into the notion of, you know, it's easy to go off track is what I'm trying to say. It's easy to fall into the niche of other people because you watch other people all the time. You watch other content all the time. But if you don't try to stay true to yourself, you're going to eventually emulate somebody else's way. Again, I know nothing is original, but you can still have your own way of something. So as long as you stay true to yourself, and if it makes you laugh and it makes you feel good about the stuff that you're putting out, just keep doing it. And another thing I would say too is if you know it's not good, comedy for instance, if it doesn't make you laugh while you're editing it or you're not having a good time while you're doing it, dude, it's not going to be good. Like, don't put that out. You know, be very critical of yourself in that way. So,
well, because that's going to bring growth.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
You're going to go through the ups and downs of identifying like, is this really what I could do? So that actually feeds into another thing. The idea of getting caught up on perfection. So when we're looking through and we're like, okay, like I don't know if this project is my best, or I think I could do better, or what do you think? What was your balance, or again, what would you tell somebody like how to find that balance of still just make sure you're being persistent and still growing, but not getting caught up on like, if this is not perfect and everybody perceives it as perfect, I'm so upset.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like your stuff. That's one thing you should always remember. Also, I'm still trying to find balance in that area because there's a lot of videos in my vault right now that I have not released because I don't think they're good, because I'm being a perfectionist in my own way. And, you know, I torture every creative tortures themselves that way. But yeah, I'm still trying to find balance as far as that goes. So I would feel kind of fake trying to give somebody advice on that. I don't know.
But I like that because it's real though.
Yeah.
Because I could say the same thing. Like, sure, I could toss out advice of like, hey, here's what I try to do, or here's what's maybe worked for me, sort of. But I can't sit and say like, oh, cool. Well, like, you know, I'm that person who when somebody's like, that short film you released was awesome, I'm like, well, like it could have been this though. Like, you know, we didn't actually show the alien in it. You know what I mean?
Being
like,
humble, yeah.
It's
a good example is Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne used to put out mixtapes with so many songs on it, and a lot of them wouldn't be that good, but he's one of the best rappers of all time, in my opinion. But you know, when he would put out those mixtapes, he would put out like 25 songs, and it would be like, dude, that's so many songs. But he's just like, nah, dude, put it out. Like, that's how I want to eventually be, but I'm not to that point yet. I'm still in my own head and being a perfectionist in my head. So,
well, and so that's honestly a good point I feel like to bring up, is because like when you started, so you got the cameras, you're like, yep, going all in on this. I'm going to start making content. Was it just a deep dive into like, whenever I have free time, whenever I can, like, what did your kind of like, I guess for lack of a better term, life structure become of, all right, I'm working this job, but then as soon as I'm off at 5, I need to go shoot this, or I need to go, because I think it's very easy for people to not, I don't want to say this in a negative way, like just not use their time wisely, and kind of just do that whole thing where it's like, oh, I wish this would happen. It'd be so cool if I could make skits. It'd be so cool if I could film content. But at some point you got to make that choice of just like, you got to just go do it.
Not using your time wisely. I guess you can say another way of putting that is just not using your time for the things that you see yourself doing. You know what I mean? It's so easy to just sit on the couch and just watch TV, watch a couple series on Netflix, you know? But my life schedule was kind of like, I would bartend. I still bartend, by the way. I don't make any money off these videos that I'm doing. But yeah, I would bartend, and then scheduling was the most difficult part, getting everybody together at the same time, because they have jobs, they have lives. So yeah, it would just be a random weekday or mostly the weekends where we would film. And then we would try and kind of like keep the same schedule going, but it's really hard when, people work and stuff, like I said, and
Right.
no one's making money off of it. I think that's a huge factor in this life is if you're not making money off stuff and to pay your bills, it's going to be hard to do the things that you want to do, especially in a capitalist society.
Right.
So
Yes, 1,000%.
Mhm.
So you start making the content, you start putting it out. Was there this might be a weird question, but like, was there a transition period that you had to take your social media presence in? Were you always kind of like, or did you literally just make like an Instagram strictly for this stuff and that's the first time you existed on social media? Like, had you been kind of developing that like quote unquote self brand? And I know I just transitioned the conversation
No, it's
so
okay.
much, but like, walk me through that time period. Was it like, hey, Adam's the dude on his Instagram who he'll post some iPhone videos and some funny stuff sometimes, and now he's starting to roll out some actual skits he's making?
Yeah.
Or was it just like night and day difference? Of
Literally
just like,
night and day difference.
Okay,
Yeah. It's
okay.
like I would just have I would have personal stuff on my Instagram. Like I said, it was a 6-year just sitting on the bench and like, all right, now coach, I'm finally in. But yeah, my best friend Josh kind of like lit the fire underneath me because he knew I had the equipment, and I had two videos go viral. Like 2 of the first 3 videos that I made go viral on Facebook and Instagram, and I went from like 1,000 to, I don't know, 20,000 within like 2 weeks or something. But it was all because of Josh. He used those viral videos and used his own money to promote them, and that's kind of how I got my following. Is he would hit up these meme pages and get them to post my videos, and people liked them, and that's how I got a following. So it really was kind of like a night and day thing.
yeah, that's so interesting to hear. Like, so I think another important factor to that though is like, you start putting out this content, lucky enough that it goes a little bit viral, put some advertising money into it, whatever it is, but then you stayed consistent. Was that any sort of a shock to you, or was it an excitement of like, oh my gosh, like, yes, people are paying attention, like,
Yeah.
awesome? Or is it just like, hey, cool, people are paying attention, I want to post every day anyway?
So yeah, at the beginning, you go on a little ego trip. It wasn't a huge ego trip for me, but it would be like I really do try and be positive all the time. It's tough because like, you always have that negative side, eating away at you. But as soon as like those videos went viral, you get a little ego trip and you're like, but my videos are better than other people's videos, and like their videos aren't even funny, and blah, blah, blah. I did that for like a week, dude. And I was with this girl at this time, and I even did it in front of her. And I was like, who am I? Why am I talking like this? I did this for a whole week straight, just like comparing myself and being very negative about other people's work. And I was like, man, this is not me. So I went through like a week of an ego trip, man. And dude, I had like fucking 20,000 followers at the time. Like, and still, I know 100,000 followers isn't anything anyways. It's all a game in my head. But yeah, as long as you don't feed into that ego trip, man, I think you'll be fine. As long as you can pull yourself out. If you don't have to rely on other people to pull you out of that ego trip, that's when you know you're doing good with yourself.
Now, I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to hear your answer to it.
Yeah.
Let's say you start putting out those videos, they don't go viral, you don't immediately get a following, and let's say it's just like a couple hundred over the last like year and a half.
Yeah.
What's your are you still doing it? Is it still like
Probably
consistent
not,
content?
man.
Really?
Probably not. I don't know why.
Okay,
I know you probably thought I had a different answer, but probably not, because the goal obviously is to have a TV show. It's not that I want to be famous, man. I want to plant seeds in people. I want people to, like the Dave Chappelle thing. Dave Chappelle planted a seed in me with his sketches, and I want to do the same thing for other generations. Like, I want them to see what real sketch comedy is like, because we have TikTok nowadays. We have videos where everything's shot on your iPhone. There's not a lot of production behind it. Simple things can make you laugh, of course, but like, man, is there really anybody out here doing sketches who aren't already famous and like that are like really, really good, and like there's a lot of writing and thinking behind it? No, there's not, man. And I want to bring those vibes back.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that's like the driving thing.
I love that though,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a lot of like my goals or our goals, our team's goals or whatever. It's like, like, again, like, we're not shooting and posting a vlog, or I'm not doing this podcast just so I can be like, look how badass I am, I want attention.
Yeah.
I want to put this out in hopes that it helps somebody. In hopes
Yeah.
that it makes somebody think of something that, like you said, it plants a seed in somebody of
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't think about that way. Or,
Yeah.
wow, somebody else went through the same thing, so I don't feel alone now. Or
That's a good point.
whatever it is, in the same thing where you're like, I want to be that Chappelle to somebody else, right? I want to be even on the like whatever level you end up getting to. It is interesting to me though, the answer of like, yeah, I don't know if I would have kept doing it.
Yeah.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is what I take from that answer, because I do actively and would feel similar, honestly. Because I feel like in a way you'd still do something to feed the energy.
Yeah.
But I know it'd feel different. For me, I was about to say for me, and then I was going to ask you a question. For me, what I'm looking for in the things that I do is, if I were to say the answer is success, it's not because I want fame or attention. It's that I know that those things can help me continue to do all the things that I want to do in hopes that it creates good things for other people.
For sure.
I want to make a cool movie, yes, selfishly, half because I think my movie idea is very cool and I would love to see it exist. But I also want that movie to bring someone joy or fear or sadness or make them experience something. I want to make this TV show because I just want, one, I want to make a TV show, but two, I want to entertain people, or I want to make a vlog series or a podcast to entertain or educate people. And again, share experience share experiences with people.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of my like go-to answer whenever somebody's like, what's your, like a couple podcasts that I've done, they ask this question of like, what's your ultimate form of success? What's your perfect like future? And, it's like, what do you want in your future? And I feel like a lot of people are expecting the like, I want to be a director. I need to be the next J.J. Abrams, the next Jordan Peele, whatever it is. Sure, that's awesome. But my answer is always, I want freedom. And I don't mean the America rah freedom.
Right.
I mean genuine just life freedom. To where if I make a movie and it pops off and it becomes this big feature thing and it's on Netflix and there's money and then other movie deals now come my way because it's just a trickle-down effect of that's how it happens and it snowballs and whatever. Then all of a sudden I'm like sought after of like, can you write this show? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Right.
I'm still going to be doing a podcast. I'm still going to be doing marketing for somebody. I'm still going to help this person make their idea. I'm still going to write this, adult comedy cartoon that I want to make. I'm still going to do all that because I don't just want the end goal of I got that one thing and I don't care.
Right.
The goal is the freedom to just do whatever it is that I want.
That's true. That's a good way to put it. I actually feel the same way. If I weren't doing the video stuff now, which sometimes I still battle with this idea, but dude, there's moments where I'm just like, man, I just want to be a freaking traveling hippie and just get a van and just travel and be by myself. I like being by myself, by the way, and just doing stuff that I haven't experienced before, other than this video stuff. I'd rather do that. So yeah, there's still times where I'm just like, screw this, I want to do that. So I know what you mean by being free. I get it.
And I think the reason that I just gave that whole example is because that's sort of what I got out of your answer in a way. Even though you said like, I don't think I'd be doing that video stuff. It's because you like doing that video stuff. You like doing those skits and the comedy and all that sort of stuff, but that's not one thing that defines you.
Right. Yeah.
You at your core would still just be like, well, I tried that didn't work. What else do I want to do? And that I think is like the major answer, and where I always lean of like, if I do this podcast for 5 more years and let's just say it hit 10 listeners the whole time, and there's just 10 people only listening. One, I'm stoked that those 10 people care that much. But two, maybe at some point you have to say like, all right, you got to reevaluate. You're like, how much energy are you putting this thing that really isn't giving you a return? I wouldn't just be like, tried podcasting, can't do it. I'd probably form another podcast that's like a different theme and try that. Or again, if I try to make movies and not one single movie ever does anything, I'm still going to be like, well, I like storytelling anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it in this form now. I'm going to do it in that form now. You're still going to always, I feel like, find a way to feed who you truly are.
Yeah, I agree with you. You elegantly put that in a way that I can understand. So yeah, that was good.
I hope I elegantly.
Yeah, no, that was great, man. That's very true. Like, it does sound like an egotistical thing to say, like, would I be doing it if I didn't have the followers? But I probably wouldn't, dude. To be honest with you, like I said, yeah, the whole reason I wanted to do it is because he impacted me that way. I want to do the same. I want to show people what good content looks like, and I'm sure you want to do the same too with your stuff. You want
Yep.
to show people what good stuff looks like, and you've done that. You've impressed me, so I mean, you're doing. And I'm not like the fucking end all be all king, but dude, as long as you're impressing other creators, I think that's very important too. I think as creators, we have to support each other when we see good shit, and you have to be honest with other creators when you're not very impressed by their stuff. And not that that should be something that makes you stop doing that creative thing, but I think we got to be honest with each other, man. And you guys have impressed me, so yeah.
Well, and that's like it's super encouraging to hear. And again, I can say all of that stuff right back at you. Again, it's why I wanted to sit down and get to know you and see how we can work together and other things, because it is that sort of like, well, you got to find those like-minded individuals or the people with the equal energy or the people who in any way want to kind of do similar things to you, because it is all about building people up. And I don't, and I don't mean, you do comedy and I also want to do comedy, getting super strict with it. No. It's, you really like creating and you put energy into that.
Yep.
Well, hey, me too. Want to chat?
Yeah,
you know what
sure.
I mean? Like, and then again, it's that whole cycle of support. And I do think that like the whole honesty part and being authentic and being true and like all the cliche things you could say about that are vastly important.
Sure.
And again, identifying at the end of the day, just like you said, if I didn't have the followers, that means I wouldn't be getting at least some sort of the result that I want, because it's not about the likes or the comments. Like those are dope things.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like, oh, well, I wouldn't be seeing a return on it. You know, if nobody was actually checking my stuff out and no one actually cared, then maybe it is time to try something else out. So what are your, I know this is such a cheesy question, but like what is the goal? Like, and I know I just answered mine with like, well, I don't like to answer it directly.
Yeah.
But what is your, like, and I don't mean like I need more followers, I want my skits to go viral. Like, where do you go from here? Is it like, I want to start taking production more seriously and try to up the production value, or I want to write more, I want to direct more? Like,
so
what is it?
I have two goals. One is to have my own TV show, obviously. But the other goal feeds off of that. The other goal is to have a nonprofit to where I give back all the time. Like, I really don't want to have any money, man. I don't like how it makes me feel, because when you do have a bit of money, it makes you feel good in a weird way. So I want the second goal to feed off of that first goal of having a TV show. I want to use the money I make off that TV show to put into a nonprofit. I have a couple ideas, and I don't want to hide these ideas either, because I've realized if somebody else takes this idea and puts it into fruition, then it's a good thing for the world. So the other goal is to start the ice cream trucks back in the day, they would come around the neighborhood, start the same thing, but smoothie trucks, because I feel like a lot of kids in the inner city, especially here in Columbus and other major cities around the U.S., they're not very health conscious, and they don't know a lot about good foods and stuff like that. You know, you go into a lot of these inner city areas, you got food deserts. There's not a lot of grocery stores around. Kids' parents work every day 9 to 5, and they're always going to the corner store getting honey buns, chips, stuff like that, juices. And I just want to really plant some seeds in kids, man. That sounded fucking weird, but you know what I mean. Like, I really want to impact the youth, because a child's mind is so malleable, and like, you can pretty much shape a child however you want. And hopefully, you know, they learn to grow out of that mold. But I really want to impact kids, man. I think the youth are very important, and you know, we are leaving this planet to the next generation. So that is a goal of mine, is to leave this world better than we left it. And I think a way of doing that is having a nonprofit like that, to where I'm literally impacting somebody's life. And a lot of people may not be aware of it, but your health is very important for your mental health. Like, your physical health is very important for your mental health. So I think that's a big goal of mine, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more on the balance that you've found of mental and physical health.
Yeah, dude. So last semester of my college year, everything happened then, of course. But I went vegan around then. I mean, yeah, I did actually go vegan around then for like 3 months, and then I switched to vegetarian because I was losing so much weight because I didn't know how to eat good. You know, as a vegan, I didn't know. I was very new to it. I was a baby, and so I went vegetarian for like 3 years now. I'm going on 3 years. I only eat cheese and stuff here and there, but I just realized how important it is, man. If your gut's not healthy, then your brain's not healthy because your gut is your second brain, and you are what you eat. And there's a lot of studies to prove that. And you're taking in when you're eating, bad things. It really does change. It alters your DNA. It alters your hormones, your emotions, all this other stuff. So if I'm not thinking clearly, it's because I'm not eating right, and I'm not treating my body right. I'm not religious or anything, but your body is your temple, and you should take care of it, man. And I don't like to preach to people, so I mean, it's cool that you asked me this question and I get to talk about it. But ultimately, it's your decision if you want to, put the certain things in your body. But just know that those two things are connected. And if you don't take that seriously, then you probably won't understand why you're having emotional imbalance, or you're not thinking clearly or something like that. So I think that's why I went down that whole path of eating healthier.
So last couple things here before we start to wrap up. So right now, let's pretend somebody's listening who is, well, I hope someone's listening.
Yeah.
Realistically, I hope literally anyone's listening. But someone's listening who is maybe looking to go down that whole like content creator path, right? It's so easy to get caught up in of, oh my God, I'm comparing myself. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm not consistent. Just getting started is difficult. I don't have the followers. I'm not going to have a viral video in my first like 3 videos. What the hell? Like, I don't know what to do. And this can be as open-ended as you want. And there doesn't have to be a direct, like, give them advice on this.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to create content. I don't really know how to get started. And again, I'm comparing myself. I'm not going viral. I'm not getting the views, the follows. I don't freaking know if it's worth it. What are you saying to that person?
Man, that's a tough one. Like I said, I feel like I'm good at recognizing good, like, talent. I feel like if I wasn't doing videos of myself, I'd be a talent agent or something. I don't know. It sounds kind of corny, but I feel like I'm really good at recognizing talent. So, man, it would be so hard to tell somebody that they're not good. That's like a scary thing to do, because there's a lot of people who do this stuff who aren't good, and that's just the reality of it. It's not me being a dickhead. But if somebody were to come to me and tell me they want to do something, I'd ask for their work. I'd want to see what they've done so far. I'd tell them, based off of the work they've shown me, if they have any potential or not. I'd be 100% with them. Their feelings might be hurt, or their feelings might be elevated in a good way, but it's all about that honesty. And I guess I would tell them, freaking get that camera, if you don't have a camera, work to get a camera, or work to get whatever that creative piece of equipment is, and just do it. Just bring that shit out, man. Because I waited 6 years to start doing it.
How important do you think consistency is in pursuing any sort of goal?
I think consistency is important, but if the quality's not there, then consistency kind of doesn't matter. Consistency can create good work ethic, of course, which I still think I need to work on, because I'm not as consistent as, let's say, you and Josh, but quality is really good. If you are consistent but the quality's not there, then you're gonna be viewed. It's like you're swiping on Instagram. You go past a video and you see somebody who posts every day because they're consistent, but you don't even watch it because it's not that good. You know what I mean? But let's say, if you, again, the balance thing, if you balance out the consistency and quality, then it's a good formula. It's all about that balance.
So we've talked about a few different things of like, the physical health and taking a negative situation, turning into a positive. Like, are you big into like mindset stuff at all? Not to make that sound like it's some weird cult thing or whatever, but I guess just like even like positive thinking or neutral thinking or anything like that. Cause you seem like such a positive person, and you do give off like good energy, and you do look at things and like hey, well, let's figure this out. And we've talked about balance a lot. Like,
yeah,
what are your thoughts on like balancing even like mental health?
Man, I don't even know if I have, the credentials to talk about it, because I've never gone to therapy. I think it's a good thing for people to go through therapy if you do have some mental health issues. But my mindset would be, if it doesn't make you happy, then what are you doing it for? Even if it is a job. And I realize some people do have families and stuff, so you have to do what is needed. But if you don't have a family and you don't know what you're doing, if you're not happy, whatever you're doing, do something else. That's the mindset at the end of the day. If you're not going to bed in a good mood and you can't fall asleep really easy because you're thinking too much, then something's off. So that's the mindset, I guess.
Okay, so last thing. I'm going to stop throwing so many questions.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
This is the final one. Unless you feel like, is there anything you feel like we're like, dude, we didn't cover this major thing?
No, not really. I
Okay.
think we talked about a lot here, dude. A lot of variety too.
Yeah,
A lot of different topics.
We really have covered so many different things, and I am a huge fan of that. Okay, so final question.
Okay.
Ask this every single episode at the
Okay.
end. So right now, we've been talking about all these things, right? We just talked about the variety of stuff that we've covered in this episode. We've talked about simulations and Mandela effect and mindset and healthy eating and comedy and content creation and your story, all these sort of things. And there's been a lot of like good tidbits, I feel like, in here that somebody really could learn something from. So
Yeah.
I will tell you that. I feel like if I were listening to this as an outsider, I'd be like, not only do I want to know this person, but man, I got a lot of value from that. A lot of things to think about.
Thank you.
So I want you to give them one last thing to think about. So right now, we've covered all that stuff, but right now, listening to this episode, I want you to pretend that everyone, the world, is listening to us talk right now. So that means you've got a live mic connected to everybody. Forget the language barriers, forget electricity, forget any. It doesn't matter. They can hear you. It doesn't matter where they are, who they are, what they do, anything like that. You've got a mic attached to all of them right now. And you have the ability to tell them whatever it is that you want.
Okay.
What are you saying to everyone?
The man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. And life is just a perception. Our reality is just a perception. And everybody you see in front of you is just a projection of yourself. So treat everyone like you would yourself.
Boom.
There it is. I don't know if like, so
Dude, no, that was great. There's never that's always I feel like that's always the answer that I get is like somebody like says something awesome and then they're like, I don't know if that's what you were looking for. And I'm like, dude, I'm not looking for anything specific. I'm looking for what you wanted to share. And I think that was wonderful.
Dope, rad.
Adam, thank you so much for
dude.
sitting down with me for nearly 2 hours.
Really? It's been 2 hours?
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's hour 45
Okay,
is where we're landing right now.
That's pretty good, man. It felt like 30 minutes, to be honest with you.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want you to enjoy this just as much as I did. So thank you so much for being down to do this. I'm super glad that we just got to really know each other.
Yeah, for sure,
Like,
man.
first time meeting, we took some deep dives, and I am a fan.
Yeah,
So
I'm a fan, dude.
if anybody wants to find you around the internet, we've talked about all this stuff you're creating, all these goals and ventures that you're going on. If somebody wants to go look that up, toss you another follow, check out some videos, check out anything. Where is everywhere they can find you around the internet?
Yeah, you can find me. Well, my name's Adam Little, and my Instagram and every other handle, like YouTube and Facebook, is A Lil Show, ALIL, like Lil Wayne, and then show. It's all one word. So, yeah.
Boom. There it is. Dude, thank you so much for doing this,
Yeah,
man.
Dan, it was fun. Seriously.
I'm
Got
glad.
to drink some sparkling water and talk about stuff. So.
Exactly. What a better night.
I know,
right?
right?
All right, so now I think we're gonna go figure out like some sort of skit.
We're gonna do a skit. Do you want to say what the skit is about? Because I'm sure I'll be done with it by the time this podcast comes out. I think
That's a great last thing to promote. I want you to
All right.
tell people what it's
All right.
about. Unless I really screw this up, I could go screw it up, and you can be
No.
like, "Dude, this is not gonna work."
Well, you're playing a certain part.
Yes,
That
okay.
script was okay. So
All right.
I saw. You have 5 more minutes. Is that cool?
We're good.
Okay. So there's this thing I saw on Instagram of this lady who drank cum and rubbed cum on her skin every single day for the medicinal purposes, which I'm sure there's some medicinal purposes, man. I'm sure there's some merit behind it, but I'll pass on that. I think I'm good. So I turned that into like my own thing, and we're going to do like sort of a TLC, My Strange Addiction, or something, that kind of vibe, you know? And it's basically, I'm going to explain my story of how I've been drinking my own semen since I was 13 because of the health benefits and the protein that it provides, and how I turned it into a business. And I don't want to, actually, no, I'll give a little joke away, but the company that I created out of this is called Bum Cum, because I hired a bunch of homeless people to provide cum for the business. So there you go. There it is, man.
Love it. By the time this episode comes out, I would assume that skit will probably be around the internet. So go look that up and talk about variety in this podcast.
Right, yeah.
We have covered it all.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
We're done.
That was dope.
Dude, that was fun. All right, so make sure to check out all that Adam creates. Once again, you can find him at A Lil Show, ALIL Show. Toss him a follow and honestly prepare to laugh. If you liked his story, let us know. Share this episode around the internet, screenshot it, tag Adam or tag me or tag the show, and you can do so at WYDH Pod. If you want more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, follow on Spotify, as well as subscribe on YouTube, where we give you a brand new full-length episode in both audio and now video form every other Monday. And if you want shorter, more subject-specific versions of this show, you can find our 15-minute Fridays out there as well. So, go check out the YouTube, setting up cameras and doing all that extra stuff to capture this in video. I really hope that at least somebody is watching it. So if you are, thank you so very much. So don't miss any of it whenever and wherever it's released by tossing on a subscription, a follow, whatever it is. So that'll do it. No more talking, no more plugs and promotions. We've already talked. You've already heard me for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was at this point. So that is my time. That was a very fun conversation with Adam. I hope you guys liked it. Thank you so very much for listening.